Hello and welcome to the Believe Show. I'm delighted that today we're speaking with Sandeep Kulshrestha. And what I'm especially excited about is Sandeep and I have known each other for a long time. We've collaborated on executive coaching, on things about positive psychology, even about poetry that's reminiscent of executive coaching and positive psychology and leadership. Sandeep is located in Hyderabad, India. He has done leadership coaching, talent development, and people and culture work with many, many companies at very senior levels. So we're delighted to have him with us today to talk about what he believes. Hello, Sandeep.
I'm happy to be here, Sinia. So it's a privilege to be sitting with you today and discussing.
Same here. Delighted that you're here. Let's jump right in. Sandeep, what is something that you believe to be true that others in your field would disagree with you about?
Well, I personally believe that well-being is more important than anything else in life and in work. If you're not able to achieve that level of well-being, which kind of makes us happier and much more flourishing, then I think we're not really there. So that's a lot of people don't agree with me on this, but I firmly believe that is true. Yes.
So tell me, for us examining these counterintuitive beliefs in contrast, what is it that a lot of other people in your field, in our field, in executive coaching and leadership development, what is it that other people believe?
Other people believe are more focused on the performance side of coaching work, and they're not really looking at well-being as an important ingredient to somebody's happiness or satisfaction. So they look at more leadership traits, and of course that's also correct, because leadership is all about what kind of influence you exuberate on people, and what kind of practices you evolve, make which help you evolve as a leader. But for me, well-being is one important construct which people miss out many times.
And what is it about well-being itself, as opposed to other leadership metrics, as opposed to leadership metrics, or as opposed to performance metrics? Why is it that you believe that well-being is so crucial, that it's, as you're saying, kind of the core, the most important thing to measure?
Yes, because well-being is not just about a level of happiness which we kind of define, but well-being also includes things like getting your meaning and purpose, and whether you are able to savor small accomplishments. So the savoring part of it is still missing in a lot of leadership metrics, because nobody says that leaders should savor the moments and kind of engage with people. So
Can you
so of course,
imagine? Can you imagine
yeah.
if in our leadership work, one of the metrics were how does this leader do at savoring the moment?
Yes. But I know a leader who savors the moments. Her office faces the ocean in Mumbai. And the first thing when she enters the office is she puts down the windowsill, and she looks out at the ocean. She savors those moments. And when they're starting the meeting, she says, let me savor it first, and then we will start the meeting. And there are very few leaders like that, and savoring the accomplishments of the team, or just being in the moment. And I think that's what is missing out many a times.
I'm so glad you said that. Sandeep, could you give us an example of a leader that you've worked with, or a leader that you've observed, who is really good at prioritizing well-being? What do they do? What are their priorities? How do they act? How could I even see that if I were observing this leader?
Okay, so I know a leader of a big multinational corporation who is based out in Hyderabad itself. So he works for a large MNC with a large team of around 500 people, 500 plus people. So there are a lot of things which he does that are very different than many leaders I've known. First of all, he kind of personalizes gratitude messages to people on their desk, even if there's no birthday. There's no particular celebration about that. He'll write that yesterday I enjoyed talking to you in the meeting, and I couldn't share the feedback, but this is what I'm sharing with you today. Or he'll send some gifts randomly to people here and there, and he starts meeting with positive feedback, and ends with a positive feedback again. And the people are happy. I could see the sense of belongingness in the team, and when the people were interacting with him in front of me. And yeah, I know many few other leaders like that, but I know on the other side as well, they're good people, but they don't prioritize well-being as such. And so they have the leader I was speaking about earlier. He's got those moments of savoring, each and every moment where he feels needs to be savored. And a small team success, even a small presentation which went right, he savors that as well, and so that's really remarkable element of his leadership quality.
So, Sandeep, that's super interesting because there's a nuance in what I've heard about that is different from an assumption I would have made. If I
Right.
hear your message about its well-being is very important, and this might be more American Western mindset. My mindset goes to, okay, Sandeep is telling me the leader's own well-being is important, but actually the examples you've given is when a leader prioritizes the well-being of the team or the group.
Right. Yeah, so that's correct, because I believe in the Buddhist philosophy of altruism, where when you think about other people's kind of happiness or well-being, then obviously you also gain some insights to that, and try to focus better on well-being in your own life. So I think that's a natural progression of a leader when he or she is looking up to the well-being of others. So he or she might get the same influence back, and he or she might practice a similar facets of well-being or something different. We don't know, but it's really a rippling effect, I guess.
And let's say people are listening to us today and they hear this and they say, all right, Sandeep's right. I really have been too focused on performance metrics. I would prefer to focus on well-being metrics, both myself and of the team organization that I lead. What are some of the first things this leader should do who wants to prioritize well-being?
Yeah, the first of all, I think the leader should maintain a well-being dashboard, where
What
people.
is that? What is a well-being dashboard?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether it exists or not, but that's my mind thinks about it. That of course, we have a performance dashboard. We've got key result areas and everything, but can we have a dashboard of well-being, where people can just put in some snippets, some post-it and everything. So what did they do to enhance well-being in their teams, and in the board meetings, for example, or did they discuss it, or so, of course, a dashboard, it might sound like a difficult idea, but it's workable. I think it's not such a big thing to do, and I think some of the companies are prioritizing well-being, and whether they're putting it on dashboard and all, that's a secondary thing. But the best thing is inculcating a culture of gratitude, feedback, feed forward, and certain other small bits of elements which are necessary. I don't think we need very big things about well-being to be implemented. The only thing, as I mentioned, I mean, I would like to mention here is, we can own up to our well-being, as a leader,
Yeah,
and
what does that
kind of.
mean? What does that mean, that phrase? Because even when you and I were emailing about this episode, what does owning up to your well-being mean?
Well, it should not be. It should be beyond jargon. That's what I feel. We should not say that we practice well-being without being even knowing what needs to be followed up. And of course, herein comes in the expertise of positive psychologists like you, and various other people who are doing good work with the leaders all around the world. So to emphasize that you have to own up to your successes as well as to your well-being as well. Because and that's a very important element for to create a fun-filled atmosphere at workplace, and like compound interest, even well-being can be compounded, and every quarter we can check the well-being scores in companies. I'm not talking about what kind of test can be done,
Yeah.
but I'm sure some kind of psychometric tests can be also incorporated there. Yeah.
So lots of new concepts for me that I'm really interested in. Owning up to our own well-being. So really, am I interpreting it this right? More like making it a priority, not just saying, not just giving mouth speak to well-being, but making it a priority for us.
Making it to be one of the main priorities in life, and
Yeah.
or I would rather say the main priority in life, because if we are working as a leader, if it is not enhancing our well-being, then we are missing out some points there as a leader, because
Yeah.
it should
Yeah.
enhance our own well-being, and it should also kind of correlate to the organization we are running as a leader.
Mm-hmm. So owning up to our own well-being and that of our teams, perhaps having a well-being dashboard, which is also a very cool idea. So Sandeep, when you speak about this, I think about you and I work with the same organization. Sometimes we work together, sometimes separately,
Yeah.
but similar organizations, multinational, usually top-notch technology organizations. When I think about people who work at these organizations, often they're very successful and ambitious and really good at completing work. And I would also say often, not always, but often very analytical. So for somebody who has
Absolutely.
an analytical mindset and really who's just listening along and saying, Sandeep, yes, I would like to develop something like a well-being dashboard. What do you suggest to people like this, or what have you done with people who are very analytical? They want to hit off check marks even, or a checklist. What should they put on this well-being dashboard other than what you have said, which is more impromptu? Here's a post-it of something one of my team members has done. Here's something we did at a board meeting. So how could they make it more deliberate? I guess that's what I'm looking for.
Yes, I mean, good that you mentioned this point. I mean, we work with leaders who are very analytical and very successful in what they do, and I think some of them are very curious about this well-being thing as such, and some of them have started doing many things. But coming back to your question, yes, like we have to-do list for our day-to-day work, we can have a to-do list for well-being, and I would rather say we need to have a different list for well-being at home and well-being at work, because although we are living a one particular life, it's not divided into work and personal life as such. But we can divide our well-being at home. At home, maybe sitting with your pet can enhance your well-being. At workplace, maybe giving a decent feedback to a colleague who has done something really nice can add on to the well-being thing. And I think all the people who report it to a manager, they can perhaps highlight it, if not on a daily basis. I think to-do list on a daily basis might be a little kind of burdensome for a lot of people, because it's a fast-paced workplace. If you're talking about tech companies, right? So, but they can have a start somewhere, like a small appreciation or small feedback can start the process. Yeah, and a to-do list of well-being, where leaders have to actually showcase through some work with that well-being has been enhanced, not just like a presentation at the annual conference that we did this and this resulted in this. It has to be much more deeper than that.
A little bit even like giving feedback and feed forward, which I know you and I are both fans of, the feed forward idea. If you give that once a year, I mean, how is a person?
Accurate, and I think it can be really good. A CEO asked, for example, 20 questions on well-being during the year, so it's like a good thing, or starting a town hall meeting with what makes you tick, or what do you want to do when you grow up, those kind of questions which we kind of use in positive psychology. And
Yeah.
I think the way we start conversations itself can trigger a lot of thoughts around well-being.
So Sandeep, what I love about what you're saying is actually, even from an analytical point of view, sometimes when I'm in my most analytical mindset and I want to create a to-do list, sometimes I just get stuck. But what else? What more should I put up there? But what I'm hearing you say is start with something. Start with, did I ask a positive, open-ended, inclusive community question at the beginning of a meeting? Start with, did I savor? Did I invite my team to savor? Did I share gratitude, whether, like you said, in written notes or in encouraging that? But even one thing that I'm surprised and delighted by in what you're saying is it could be pretty personal. A team leader's well-being dashboard might be completely different from one leader and another.
I mean, the dashboard and all, I think that's the part of the theme which can be developed, at a later stage. But, I think the main important thing is how to have a start.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we should not be over ambitious. People should have small goals, on well-being, but they should own up to those small goals as well. There should not be 20 things to do every day or asking employees to give a list of 100 things to do before I die. That may little be too far-fetched, but to start with a small thing, is very important. Yeah, so that's what I meant by owning up to well-being. Yeah.
Awesome. So what I'm hearing you say is start small, start anywhere. A good friend of mine, Dave, always says start anywhere. And just, it also sounds like a little bit, give it a snowball effect, like a snowball rolling down a hill. As you start, keep doing those things. So if like the leader that you spoke about, if my natural inclination is to take a moment and savor looking out over a beautiful landscape, do that, but keep doing that. Don't just do that one time and do it again in a year. Just keep rolling and snowballing on building on the things that work.
Absolutely.
So, Sandeep, how did you come to this conclusion? Because a lot of what you're saying, I believe from a positive psychology point of view anyway, but a lot of even executive coaching and talent development and developing one's own team as a manager doesn't focus on well-being. It focuses on performance, development goals. So where are your weaknesses and how could we improve them? How did you come to this belief? Hey, everybody, I want to help you develop, but you've got to start with your well-being. How did you come to this?
Yeah, I mean, of course, as a positive psychology practitioner, I'm influenced by work by Seligman and people, Tal Ben-Shahar and many other people, and I also started practicing these things myself. And I started believing it has a very powerful effect. I do have a to-do list of well-being personally. I look at least 5 things to do today to enhance my well-being, and when I'm talking as a consultant on people, culture, strategy to my clients, I speak about these things quite often. In fact, it's part of my all of my conversations. At least one bit of it will be there about well-being, and I'm also influenced by appreciative inquiry, the work by Biotis and various other professors from the West, and so it's basically based on my own practice, my own influence, and the stuff which I've been reading, and I see changes happening in people's lives as well. Like we were discussing about the same tech companies we work for. Quite a few analytical people who also got into the habit of kind of savoring and being mindful and being present in the moment. So I'm really inspired by all that.
Yeah, I agree with you. So it sounds like it was actually almost more of a personal development journey. How do I want to develop as a leader and as a coach? And as you started doing that, you saw that it works for you, and then you made it part of your consulting practice and coaching practice.
Absolutely, it works for me, and of course, research also emphasizes that this has a kind of a good effect on people's health and overall kind of overall well-being, etc. So it's I think research also is kind of supporting this thing, but of course, this is based on my own experience as well.
Mm-hmm. Sandeep, I'd like to end with 2 questions. They're kind of the opposite in a sense, or different. I'm going to ask you, what is a thought that you'd love to leave our audience with? And then I'll ask you, what is an action that you imagine that people can take? So let's start with the thought. As we speak about owning up to our own well-being, what's a concluding thought that you want to leave everyone with?
Yeah, so I will say start with a small goal and stick to it for some time before starting to develop further.
That's a good reality recognizing summary. We have a lot going on. Start with a small goal and build on it. Yep.
Yeah.
And then Sandeep, if you could snap your fingers and almost everybody in the world were to start doing something, some action, what would you want that action to be?
Uh, the simplest thing is start appreciating people who work for you, or who are in your home, who are at your home, at your workplace. So start appreciating. That's the first step towards creating a space for well-being dialogues, and so that's what I would say. That's the easiest thing to do for people, I guess.
What are, let's say, 3 examples of ways that we can appreciate people either at home or at work?
Well, at home, of course, one can always tell the spouse that today, I mean, the food was excellent, and or let's look at our earlier pictures and try to savor those moments back again. So I think that these are some of the two or three things which people can do. At workplace, of course, as we discussed earlier, a positive feedback or an appreciation for even a great job done 6 months back. You can always be nostalgic about it, and it also builds into the culture of performance plus well-being both together, because people are appreciating what you did months back as well. So that's also kind of a good thing. And on a daily basis, of course, for a great work done, people should be a little more, they should not be stringent with lack of appreciation. They should appreciate people more. And as we discuss feed forward, so all these things can be really implemented very easily, I guess.
Sandeep Kulshrestha, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful session, and I will end by encouraging the people who have been with us today to do that, to go appreciate 1 or 2 more people today, literally as you've been listening to this session. Sandeep, thank you so very much.
Thanks for having me. Bye bye.